Hello and welcome to the Noninkables podcast. We are on, I can't talk. We are on episode number 9 of season 2, year 2. Welcome if you are new. Let's get started. My voice might sound a little bit different. I had the flu last week, which was rough, but feeling much better now, so yay. Last week on the channel, I released the last of my 3 first chapter unboxing videos, and it had a pretty good enchanted, I would say maybe the best. And I feel like every time I get even like a little bit like, maybe I'm spending too much time on Lorcana, I'll like open a pack or something that gets me sucked right back in. And I feel like this happened in the beginning when it was really hard to get cards. So we started playing set 2. It was pretty hard to get cards even still. And like our first attempt at getting cards, I tried to order them on the Disney website and I was able to add them to my bag. I added like a booster box and starter decks. And then by the time I signed in to check out, it was all sold out. And so then we went to a local game store, got starter decks there. And then it was like this mad dash of figuring out like, okay, who sells these cards? Because all the game stores were either out or selling them like super above MSRP. And then I was like, oh, Hot Topic sells them. Box Lunch also sells them. Best Buy sells them. So then we were like going to the mall, just trying to like find these packs. And I remember I found packs at Hot Topic and then pulled an Enchanted Elsa and immediately got hooked. At that time, I think Enchanted Elsas were like $900. No, I think they were only like $600 then. And then shortly after, there was like a big surge in prices for all the princess cards, where like the Cinderella and Alice and like all the other girl Disney character enchanteds were $100 about, and then all of a sudden they all shot to like $300, like Belle and stuff. And then Elsa went up to I think like $1,200. And I feel like that's what sucked me in initially. I was like, oh, I have really good luck. Let me keep opening packs. And so this is the third Enchanted Elsa I've pulled. So I almost have a play set, which is insane. I mean, I do open a lot of boxes, but still, like I've never opened an Enchanted Maui. I've never opened an Enchanted Tinkerbell, an Enchanted 3-drop Ursula, or Diablo. Those I had to all trade for or buy. But it seems like some enchanted cards I just have better luck, and I'm glad it's the best one. Yeah, so that was very exciting. I had also this past week, I did not record, well, I recorded some of them as like shorts. So if you watch the shorts on my channel, there is one released every day. Speaking of, I need to release one for today because I am out of like the scheduled ones. But I opened a box of Inklings that I got from the Disney store. They had a sale on President's Day weekend where the Inklings boxes were basically, it was like 40% off, I think. And so they ended up being like $86 a box. I bought a bunch, but I ended up, for the first time ever, I got 2 enchanteds in one box. Not one case, but one box. So usually I get 2 enchanteds per case. So like every 4 boxes, I get 2 enchanteds. Unless it's set 5, in which case I get like one every like 8 boxes. I don't know why that set hates me, but luckily that set's enchanteds are relatively cheaper than the other sets because they're not very good. So I was able to like trade for them. But yeah, I've never had 2 enchanteds in one box, so that's crazy. And then I had another box that I opened that from like Inklings, from that order, that had a discard card and an enchanted. And I was like, oh, these are very good boxes. Maybe I should buy from the Disney website more often, except that they're always MSRP and I don't want to pay full price if I can get it for cheaper. So, okay, so I released the unboxing video for that first chapter. I also released part 2 and part 3 of the comprehensive rules. So we are doing a series going through all of the comprehensive rules. It's 7 parts for the comprehensive rules, and then there's going to be another video for the tournament rules and then play corrections. This week I will probably planning on releasing part 4 and 5, and then next week will be 6 and 7, and then that'll be all of the comprehensive rules. So all of those will come out prior to the release of set 7, which is March 7th at the local game stores. So yeah, and then this week I'm also planning to record some more Chinese unboxings. So my dad did visit last week, and he went through all of my first chapter cards, and one, helped me with the words I didn't know, and then two, also like critiqued their translations, which I didn't expect. But he basically was like, oh, some of these translations are just phonetic. Some of them are like they translate it based on the meaning, but the best ones are when it's both the phonetic sounds similar and also it carries meaning. And then he was giving like alternative translations that he would have used. I was like, this is fun. And it was like, oh, I should maybe told my dad about this LinkedIn job. He could have been like the official translator for Lorcana, but alas, that was pretty fun. And then this past weekend, we joined like a local, there's like a new, so one of the local groups, I want to get their name right. It is Margolis Gaming Labs. They are starting a new like league kind of. So most of our local game stores have like either a local weekly league or they do weekly constructeds. But this one is different. So it's run by the people who ran Gold Star, the competition we went to at the beginning of the year up in Sacramento. And it's very interesting. So it's like a hybrid league in the Bay Area, and it's split up by region. And then the goal is like in the beginning, there's like Swiss, and that is played ideally like in person, but you could also play online. And then you like update your results onto Melee, and then eventually it goes to like a top cut of top 16, and then it's kind of like playoffs in 3 weeks. So 3 weeks time for playoffs into eventually finals. So kind of like a sports thing. I think that's how the sports works, like basketball. So it's for set 7, and it's separated into 4 regions. So there's like East Bay 1, East Bay 2, and then there's SF/Peninsula, and then there's South Bay. So I don't actually know if we're in East Bay 1 or East Bay 2. I don't know how it's split up, but we're definitely East Bay. And I feel like it's going to be pretty good. Also and it's also interesting because I don't know like where the demarcation between East Bay and South Bay is, which will be interesting because we may possibly be in the same region as Ed, North American champion. So, no pressure. But I feel like because we joined this, so the whole team joined, because we joined this, I guess, would it be called a league, this tournament? I guess it's technically a league. Because we joined this league, all of a sudden I'm like way more into figuring out a deck, looking at the cards and stuff. Because I feel like before this, they released the set 7 cards so fast this time. Because usually I feel like some content creators release a couple here and there, and then like some of them in Europe will release a couple, and then we'll have that like mass thing on Discord where Rochelle releases like the remaining ones. Whereas this time I feel like it was just like release, and then after like what felt like maybe a week, we had all the cards. Like all the cards are released now, and it feels like drinking from a fire hose, trying to look at all the cards and figure out what to play. And so I felt like I was getting overwhelmed and paralyzed basically by the sheer amount of information of cards. But because we joined this league, I'm like, oh, it's going to start soon. I got to start looking at decks. And so at first I was like, okay, maybe I'll just look through all of the cards and figure out which cards I like best and then try to work them into a deck. So I tried to do that. And then I was like, okay, I am once again overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. So then I was like, okay, well, I know there's a Mushu card, and I like Mushu, and it's in red steel, and I really have wanted to play red steel since I started playing this game. So then I was like, okay, I'll just go on Dreamboard and look at red steel decks. So that's what I did first. And then I saw like the blue steel Kiwi Birds deck, which I feel like is the first like really popular deck of this set that's like out and published, and like Harlan Sweet made a video about it and stuff. And I feel like Kiwi Birds was kind of picking up at the end of last, I guess, current set we're in. And so I've just been playing on Ink. I've basically been using the Kiwi Bird deck because I think it's going to be very popular. I think Kiwi Birds is going to be like extremely popular. And so I've been using that as like my base deck that I test all of my decks that I want to try against, right? And I think Kiwi Birds is pretty easy for the AI on Inktable to pilot because I have lost to it many times. I think it has like a nice curve. You don't have to think about like ramping in as you do normal Sapphire decks. And so I have been testing so many decks against this stupid Kiwi Birds because I don't think I want to play Kiwi Birds. I think part of it is like just a personality thing. I don't want to play the deck that everybody else is playing. It seems like that is not as fun for me. I would much rather play like a rogue deck, except that I'm not at the level yet where I can make a rogue deck that works well. So I think I still need to play one of the meta decks, but I don't want to play like the most popular one. Yeah. And so Kiwi Birds has been my baseline on Aimtable. So every new deck I test against Kiwi Birds to see if it is good. And I have tested so many decks against Kiwi Birds and lost. I tried a Red Steel Mushu deck. I've tried a Red Steel Maui deck. I've tried Green Blue with Ink Geyser. That's like more aggressive. I've tried a Green Blue that's not Ink Geyser based. I've tried Purple Steel, multiple versions. I've tried other blue steels. I tried to make a Purple Steel burn deck. So many, so many. I've tried like different aggro decks, like yellow purple, yellow green. I tried to make like a green blue aggro all war deck. And then I think I tried to make like a red purple, and I was like, oh, this is just the same red purple deck as it always is. And then I got bored. I think I tried like playing DKP's deck into it. I don't know. I feel like I've tried so many decks and I couldn't win consistently against Kiwi Birds. And then I even tried like Kiwi Birds against Kiwi Birds and sometimes won. So it was pretty demoralizing to constantly lose to the AI Inktable. And then Brian's been working on a green steel deck since last set. So he played green steel all of last set. And then I feel like at the end of last set, he was really like cooking and like trying to figure out a better green steel. And then he's been really, I think, focused on just the green steel cards that have been released this set. And so he sent me his list. So I tried that list and I was like, oh, this beats Kiwi Bird so easy. And so I was like, oh, maybe I'm going to play green steel again. So that is where it currently stands for me, is that I'm probably going to play green steel. We just need to figure out which cards specifically to include. I'd say it's similar to like early set 6 green steel, maybe end of set 5 green steel, because it does include Morph and Beast, but I like Morph better. So Morph is like a card that I have liked since it came out. So I'm always trying to play Morph. I think it's better now because there are more shift targets for Morph. So before, I feel like the deck had just Beast for Morph to shift to, and then like maybe Diablo if you couldn't find your 1-drop Diablo, right? But now you can shift to stuff like the Pete Space Pirate, which is a dual ink card green steel, which shifts on 4, which, I like. And you can still shift to Beast. And then you can also shift to... And then that Pete, you can also at least shift on to like Pete Games Referee, which is pretty standard in the deck. So I feel like there's a lot of more options now. Yeah, so I've been running that pretty much just on Inktable because Lord Kinito hasn't been updated yet with set 7 as far as I know, whereas Inktable is somehow working very quickly to update the new cards. And so I've been doing it mostly on Inktable and always playing on the draw. And I mean, so far it's been pretty good. The only one I had a little bit of trouble with, which was like a yellow purple aggro, and it really was like my hand bricked and I died. It was not good. But like when my hand doesn't brick, it's very doable. So far I do like it. I don't think I'm fully committed yet because I'm always trying to try new things. So I did, like one night when I couldn't sleep, save a bunch of decks that I saw on Dreamborn that I wanted to test out. Like there was one that had like Philoctetes and Li Shang, and also obviously Mulan and Mushu, and I was like, ooh, I want to try that one. There was a deck I found called Yas Queen that is yellow-blue, that has all of the queens. So I thought that would be fun to try. And then also, obviously, a yellow blue puppy deck. And so those are the ones I'm looking at. And once again, I feel like the two sides of me are battling. The one that wants to do really well and play a meta deck, and then the one that just wants to play a super fun theme deck. So yeah, that is kind of it. We didn't play in any in-person things, obviously, because I had the flu and I was not up for it. And I haven't really been playing on Lorcanito because it's still set 6, and I feel like I don't want to play set 6 anymore. I want to play new stuff. I want to play set 7. I'm very excited for set 7. I feel like there's so many new and interesting mechanics and stuff. So like, for example, that card, I think it's Scrooge McDuck, that makes your opponent have to go to 25 instead of 20. It's like, what the heck? Because you'll be playing, you'll be like, oh, I'm almost to 20. And then they'll be like, just kidding, you got to go to 25 now. And you're like, what? That obviously is new, that new Vanish mechanic. And then it just seems like this set, there are so many cards that have special, that aren't vanilla. Let's say that. They're not vanilla. They have some sort of special text and ability, which makes it very, very interesting. And I think it's going to take longer to learn all the cards. Oh yeah, that's the other thing I'm going to probably record right after this, is just going through all of the cards, which I realize is going to take a very long time, but is the only way I'm going to look at all the cards. And I feel like it's important to know all the cards, because part of being good when you play against somebody is you have to know what they might play against you and kind of play around. And if you don't know what all the cards are, there's no way. So yeah, that I think is it for me for this podcast. Kind of short because there's not a ton that has been going on. Just, tinkering with decks and all that stuff. Yeah, as always, keep shuffling. Hopefully you don't end up with a whole handful of non-inkables like me. And stay tuned for this week for the rest, or not the rest, but like 2 more, I guess, episodes of the comprehensive rules. And then me going through all the cards and probably getting very overwhelmed. And that is it for me. All right, bye.